What is up, space pirates? This is your Admiral, the effortlessly entertaining Dr. Disaster, and apparently some developers in the gaming industry are not very happy with Hollow Knight Silksong because the developers of that game made a title that people really enjoy and they only charged $20 for it.
The fact is, you've been making us all look bad.
Eurogamer here even wrote an article about the subject. Down here it says, Silksong honestly should cost $40, and I'm not even joking, posted developer RJ Lake, who worked as a composer on I Am Your Beast and is directing Rhythm Adventure Unbeatable. I won't go as far as to say it's bad, but it will have effects, and not all of those effects are good. RJ believes Silksong's price will distort players' views about what a $20 indie game can and perhaps should offer. Which other indie teams can afford to take several years to make a game after all? Similarly, if they did take that long, which teams could afford to ask only $20 upon release? To me, this just sounds like impotent anger from someone who has to up their game.
Dirty Turkish back flat and Morton, Philip Bucket Martin, Perkaluma.
Because here's the thing, Hollow Knight Silksong isn't the first smaller studio game this year to erode the charge as much as we can get away with paradigm that has been bubbling up in the past several years. Claire Obscure Expedition 33 famously charged only $50 for a game with all of the quality and more of a AAA title. It is now a frontrunner for Game of the Year, and now Hollow Knight Silksong has come out, and on its launch day, just a random Thursday, September morning, this little indie title has gone ahead and cruised past 500,000 concurrent players on Steam.
Holy shit!
While a AAA slop game like Outer Worlds 2 was at one point planning to charge $80 freaking dollars, Hollow Knight is embarrassing the hell out of bloated studios like that with a $20 price tag. And in fact, the game, Hollow Knight Silksong, was so successful at launch that it basically broke the freaking internet. The Xbox Store, PlayStation Store, Nintendo eShop, and even the Steam storefront suffered outages because so many people were trying to buy this game when it dropped. Hold on to your hats, folks, because now the weekend is upon us, and hopefully the digital storefronts will get their shit figured out, because this number right here, this player count number for Hollow Knight Silksong, could go to the frickin' moon. Games like this make the business model of the AAA developers look silly as hell, and those AAA developers should be afraid.
See this? This is my boomstick!
Alright, me hearties, make sure that you hit the like button on this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Also, I've started uploading content onto Rumble, so make sure to follow me over there, and don't forget to follow me over on X, where my handle is Dr. Disaster 1. But alrighty then, let's talk about Hollow Knight Silksong and its amazing reception thus far. Now, for full disclosure, I personally did not play the original when it came out. I have meant to play it forever, but my backlog has been so massive for so long that I have just never found time to fit it in. However, I really enjoy the Metroidvania-styled games like this, so it's definitely something that I will play at some point. I've already purchased this sequel, in fact, because I want to support the makers of the game, and if you like the Metroidvania genre, based on the gameplay videos that I've watched, I strongly recommend that you give this game a whirl. Sure, I don't have the first-hand experience with the game myself, so take my recommendation with a grain of salt, but even if you don't end up liking it, for Pete's sake, it's only $20. And besides that, Look at the review scores for this game over on Steam. They are sitting at about an 88% positive rating with damn near 40,000 reviews registered on the game already. You really aren't risking much grabbing this game, and if you do, you can add to this already bloated player count for Silksong. What's amazing is how the original Hollow Knight's all-time peak shot up to 72,000 concurrent players in preparation for the sequel's release. The original game peaked at about 20,000 players a few years ago, but according to VG Analytics, that game has sold around 7.5 million copies on the Steam platform, so a ton of those people have been firing the game up again, and now that the weekend is upon us, I think it's very possible for the 535,000 concurrent player count peak on Steam on the game's release. I think it's possible, if not just flat out likely, that number skyrockets up. 1 million concurrent players may not happen, but it isn't off the table either. At least, it's not off the table as long as this crap doesn't happen again, with the stores for Steam, PlayStation, Nintendo, and Xbox all experiencing issues with too many people trying to download this game at once. This article here is from Newsweek, and it says, Hollow Knight Silksong is one of the most anticipated games in history, with fans clamoring for almost a decade for the new game to be released. The game just officially released on PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, and PC, but almost nobody can play it at the time of writing. That's because the game's launch saw potential players flood to storefronts to buy and download it, resulting in every single major video game storefront crashing. And then, down below that, they show an image of an error message from a Switch 2 that occurred during the launch of this game. Apparently they couldn't even view the eShop during that time. But the article continues saying, at the time of writing, Nintendo Switch and Switch 2 eShop, the PS5 PlayStation Store, the Xbox Store, and Steam are all experiencing issues, with many players unable to get into the storefront to buy the game or any game at all. Some have been able to download the game, such as players on Xbox, but verification servers for the consoles are being hammered, so they can't launch the game, getting an error telling them to try again later. So you have to think about how impressive this player count right here for Hollow Knight Silksong is, considering that the demand was so frickin' high that a lot of people likely couldn't even play the game because the Steam storefront went down. Once again, I will reiterate, the weekend is now upon us, and the first weekend of a game's release is often when we see their peak player count happen, and if the bugs that caused problems with these storefronts get ironed out, then this player count number could really skyrocket. You've got to think that earlier this year, Monster Hunter Wilds launched with just under 1,400,000 concurrent players playing that game, and they didn't run into any storefront issues. Black Myth Wukong launched about a year ago with over 2,400,000 concurrent players, and they didn't run into problems. Considering that storefronts going down has been a problem across every single major video game digital storefront, this is not a coincidence. Hollow Knight is simply that popular. I fully expect that they will soar past their peak player count this weekend on Steam, though it will be interesting to see where the game lands, and if the numbers are high enough, and if the review scores continue to remain so high, we might even see this little indie game be nominated for a Game of the Year award at the Game Awards. Thus far, an indie game has never won that award, and it would be very cool to see this happen, especially for a game that charged only $20 when they really could have asked for more. But circling back around to what I was talking about at the opening of the video, these game developers in AAA studios are continually failing because their business model just does not work any longer. They keep pouring more and more resources into games, adding features like ray tracing and shit like that, which a lot of players don't even give a crap about, and they spend a lot of resources on useless crap like their HR departments, necessitating that they charge charge $70 or $80 for their games, and they have to sell many multiple millions of copies to even break even. Meanwhile, these smaller teams of passionate gamers are making games that are simply good fun, and they are eating the lunch of these massive studios. A lot of people have been talking about the industry dying, with so many big-name games underperforming. Assassin's Creed Shadows, as an example, has sold somewhere around 3 million copies, but based on the reported budget, they needed somewhere around 7 million sold at full price just to break even. Hell, even Capcom is talking about Monster Hunter Wilds, which sold 10 million units in its first month. They're saying that that game has underperformed. And I think that what we're seeing is not that the industry is dying, because gamers still want video games, but I think the AAA business model is what's dying, and that sure wouldn't break my heart. But I'm gonna leave it there. Are you planning to pick up Hollow Knight Silksong, and how high do you think the concurrent player count will end up for the game this weekend on Steam? Drop your thoughts into the comment section below, and we will talk there. Thanks for watching, me hearties. If you haven't already, your Admiral is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.